Do you guys see unsecured bonds?
So almost all of them are unsecured. So the vast majority of...
I figured that.
So federally, what happens is we don't have arraignments until a case is indicted, right? And so there are, usually you get a phone call, and it's an FBI agent, and they're like, I want to arrest your client, produce him, or we're going to have a manhunt. And so... yeah. And so you go, okay, how long do I have? He goes, you can call the AUSA and ask them. So you call the AUSA.
What's AUSA?
It's the United States Attorney.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so you get on the phone with the AUSA, and they're like, hey, listen, like, bring him before noon, and we'll get him in, we'll get him processed, and we'll have his arraignment this afternoon.
Day of.
And
Diane, Daniel.
And usually the thing about it is FBI agents are pretty much not interested in doing anything on your time TV. And the reality is unlike, like, if we complain a lot about the NYPD.
Yeah.
But the NYPD speaks to you, and they level with you. The feds do not. They don't give a damn about you, or your cousin, or your uncle, or anyone else, or if anybody's on fire. That's the truth. And they don't have to, because the system is a juggernaut that wins almost every time. Right? So they know this. And they know the AUSAs also don't have to care about you or what you want. And so what ends up happening is you go to the presentment, and that's what we call it, presentment, because it's a presentment of a complaint that goes to magistrate court. You're from a magistrate judge, not an Article 3 judge, not someone who is appointed by the president. Like, this is a magistrate who's appointed to the position usually by the administrative judges within the district court. And so you go in front of them and you make an argument for conditions of release. Usually they have pretrial services has done an interview. And pretrial services, it works with probation, is essentially like probation, and it's right there in the courthouse. And the funny thing is, federal defenders, institutional defenders in the federal system, federal defenders, that's what they're called, they consider themselves employees of the government. And they'll tell you that. They're like, I work for the government. So they all work together. They all have badges. They all come in and out of the back rooms. And so it's very weird, because when you go and you're an outsider like me, I'm a private attorney. I work for the client. Right? Like, I walk in, they're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm private. And they're like, I don't like this. Right?
Really?
Yeah, really. Look, a lot of people have. Look, I have a different experience than I think some other people do when it comes to federal courts. I'm lucky. I've met a lot of good people who do a lot of the right things, and a lot of federal agents who are honest and do the right things as well. But until you can prove that you're not going to try to run and make them do the extra work, they don't have a reason to trust you. So I say that because you get to the presentment, and pretrial services makes a recommendation, and they usually recommend supervision. They recommend, all right, we want him on home detention, and we're going to give him a curfew for when he can work and when he has to. They don't want people to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And that's the first standard, right? Like, they start off, and pretrial is a decent agency, right? Like, they really do try to help people, and if you do well on pretrial, they'll even advocate for programming for you that you can only get through pretrial services.
Wow.
Right? But if you don't do well on pretrial, you're going to MDC Brooklyn, which is been described as a hellhole by multiple Article 3 judges.
Yeah.
Right? But in general, you don't pay money to get out. You get a securing order, and the bond is usually signed by 2 or 3 suretors who have we call it moral suasion over, right? Someone who has, like, your mother, your wife, your best friend, people who you wouldn't want to see on the hook for a $250,000 bond if you don't come back to court. Keeping in mind it's the federal government, there's nowhere to run. You're not getting anywhere. So generally, the courts know their power, and they use them effectively.
He'll get away.
So it's funny, because I'm surprised to hear you say that there are electronic monitoring actually being done, because my experience is that it's almost non-existent, and judges really don't like it, and they're perfectly comfortable issuing orders that are essentially pay $150,000 on your partial secured surety bond, or pay $50,000 on your insurance company bond, or pay $50,000 on your cash bond, And if you don't pay those things, you're welcome to get the sheriffs to secure you. But until they secure you, you're going to sit in Rikers Island.
Yeah.
And we're going to send you to EMTC, and you're going to be around people who have various mental health issues, and you're going to feel very unsafe, even though you're an accountant.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's a very scary reality.